Hey guys, Joseph here with another video. In this tutorial, I want to show you guys how to take your Boolean workflows further. So for those of you not familiar, a couple years ago, I think it was the 2017 release of Max, we overhauled the Boolean workflows in Max. We introduced a new carve library, which with it came a few new techniques, a much more precise Boolean algorithm, and it opened up the doors to some pretty interesting workflows. So let's take a look at what that is right now. So I got this door hatch here, and I have this cylinder that I want to Boolean into my door hatch. So we're going to select the door hatch and set it to Boolean. Just so you know, the old Boolean button has now been replaced with the brand new Booleans. So we still have Pro Booleans, which was, I guess, if you want to look at it in terms of versions, was V2. We had the old Booleans, which was V1. And the new Booleans, V3, are found by clicking on the V1 button Boolean. So it's a little bit confusing, but that's the way it's been implemented. And in here, we're going to go ahead and add our cylinder as an operand. And then if we come back to the stack here, you see that we have access to our operand in the Boolean stack. I can double click on it to access the actual operand itself and move it around. And I have access to the stack below this, which was used to create this actual cylindrical shape. And it's not just a regular cylinder, it's actually an MCG cylinder. That one of our users created. You can find it on ScriptSpot. And this cylinder allows you to basically fillet the edges, create a square, create these types of shapes. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to create two referenced copies of this door hatch, of this Boolean door hatch. And we'll see why we're going to do that in a second. So the first one, let's go ahead and create our second reference. I'm going to select the first reference that I created, and on top of the stack, on top of the Boolean stack, I'm going to add an editable spline. And what this essentially does is it strips away all the geometry and just creates a spline object where the operand intersects with the base object. And because this is a reference, whatever I make to the base, whatever changes I make to the base object, the spline will come along for the ride. So this starts to open up some really interesting workflows. In this case here, what I'm going to do is select a spline and add a sweep modifier to it. So I can create a little bit of a lip there for my window. And we can adjust, of course, the sweep settings to make this a little bit more customized to what we want. What's really great, remember, because it's a reference and because I still have access to the stack, I can go ahead and change the location of that operand and make changes to the actual operand shape because I have access to the modifier stack, and everything referenced to it will come along for the ride. We can take this a step further and select our second reference that we made, put another edit spline on it, and this time we're going to use it as a path to to clone this little bolt object along that spline object. To do that, I'm using so on top of the bolt, I'm going to add this clone modifier. This is a clone modifier that was also built with MCG, which basically allows me to clone an object along a spline. So we're going to click that spline, which is our second reference, and we basically select the amount of bolts that we want. And this is all kind of connected. And the great thing, and what makes this truly procedural, is I make one modification upstream and everything comes along for the ride. Both the lip, which was done with the sweep modifier, and the bolts using the MCG clone modifier. So I hope you enjoyed this.